My dear brothers and sisters in Christ, peace be with you. It is indeed worthwhile to pause for a while and reflect well on the Gospel for this 28th Sunday of the Ordinary Time, Year C. Again, taken from the Gospel of St. Luke, we have here a very beautiful story. When we look at the story, it seems to be just an account of the healing of the 10 lepers, one of which was a Samaritan who came back to Jesus and thanked him. Probably we would judge the other 9 who were Jews as people who were not as grateful as the Samaritan. But let us pause for a while and think whether there were really people who were ungrateful, and whether what the Samaritan did was just a mere expression of gratitude. You see, these lepers were cleansed when they were going, when they responded to the command of Jesus to have themselves be inspected by priests. Of course, we know perfectly well that to show yourself to the priest after you have been cleansed would demand that you have to offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving. Going to the temple would mean thanking the Lord. So we can safely say that the other 9 went to the temple in accordance to the command of Jesus, to show themselves to the priests and eventually to offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving and gratitude. Understandably, the Samaritan was not a Jew. Hence, he was not obliged to go to the temple of Jerusalem. But more than that, this Samaritan has seen something deeper. It was not a question anymore of a temple, more than recognizing the presence of God in Jesus whom he encountered. Look at the verbs used in this gospel, from being healed to being cleansed, to being saved. At the end of the gospel, the Samaritan was called by Jesus as a person who was saved. Not only someone who was healed, but someone who was put into a right relationship with God. What the Samaritan experienced was indeed deep, because he did not only come back to Jesus just to thank him. The expression of the gospel is quite clear. He fell to his knees, bowed his head to the ground, and thanked him. An act of worship indeed. And look at the words of Jesus as well. He said, "Were there not 10 who were cleansed? But only one, a Samaritan, who came back to give thanks to God." Now Jesus equated his presence as the presence of God to be thanked for. A revelation indeed of God who is present among the suffering people. And the Samaritan recognized that he was not just a healer, he was the presence of God intervening into his life. Precisely then, his gratitude was not just a mere expression of thanksgiving. He thanked God by worshiping Christ, because indeed the greatest way to express one's gratitude is to worship. The term used here in the gospel, thank him, would mean Euchariston, the root word of our Eucharist. For indeed, Christians must worship God and thank him in the Eucharist, the greatest expression of our gratitude, worshiping God in Christ. That is why this Samaritan was not only healed, was not only cleansed from his sickness, he is now saved. His faith has saved him. beautifully, the verb does not only mean being cleansed from leprosy. It means to have a good relationship with God. To be alive, to have a full life would mean having that right relationship with God, worshiping God and thanking Him for everything that He has done to each one of us. Our prayer, my dear brothers and sisters, today as we reflect on this gospel, thank the Lord, not only because He has cleansed you, not only because He has forgiven you, but more so, thank Him for having given you a gift that no one may give, His very life, and to put us into a right relationship with Him. That is why we call Him, we are able to call Him our Father. Let us therefore continue praying. May our Eucharist be likened to that attitude of the Samaritan. Every time we gather on a Sunday, we gather together because we have encountered Him, because we have felt that intervention of God in our lives, because we have experienced the goodness of the Lord. And when we gather before Him in the Eucharist, may our lives be overflowing with gratitude, expressed in a sincere worship, thanksgiving, and thanking Him for everything that we are and everything that we have received from Him. Let us continue to pray for one another. May the Lord increase in our hearts that spirit of gratitude expressed in our authentic and sincere worship. Continue to pray for your priests that when they celebrate the Eucharist, they themselves may be the first ones to encounter God who cleansed them, who forgive them, and who save them. This is Father Ulrich of the Rogationist Fathers, wishing you the peace of the Lord.